For the first time in 5 weeks at Owl on Monday, welcome back to the Purple Pain Podcast. Yes, welcome back to another episode of the Purple Pain Podcast, episode 274. I'll go through them. James Hurst, Michael Orr, Terry Phillips, David Sharp. I can give you one Josh Jones this year, number 74. Thank you for coming through this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. Not under the best circumstances, but we'll get through it. It's going to be a therapy session, a vent session. Just starting off now, you can sound off in the comments because I know me and Sutton actually, so we were a little late today. We were kind of sounding off about this team, just getting out some emotions before we talk about it here. But thank you all for coming through this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast, where we actually dropped our second leg of our ladder challenge, which actually hit very early. We talked about it on Friday. We were kind of waiting for props to come out, and Mark Andrews over 2.5 catches was our play, and we turned 20 into 40. So that is very, very exciting. He had 2 catches in the first drive, and I'm like, all right, this is looking really good. Got that third and cash it out. And the funny thing about FanDuel, they waited forever to cash that out. It's not yards, it's a catch.
Yeah,
you can't take a catch away.
Can't take that back.
Yeah. You can't take that catch away. Awful line, by the way. Managers against the Browns. Like, come on now.
On National Tight Ends Day? What are you thinking?
If we don't drop the plays on here, we'll have them on our Instagram or on Twitter, so you can follow us there. But you can follow this guy over here on X or on Instagram at SuttonDef. Follow me on Instagram at simplyas10.prod or on X at simplyas10. And most importantly, our sponsor, Manscaped. Go on there, use code PRP, get 20% off your whole order, your whole freaking order, and the free international shipping. You will not regret it. I'll tell you that right now. I was watching UFC over the weekend. Nice 2:00 start time for the main card. Saw that Manscaped, saw them talking up. I'm like, man, this is near and dear to our hearts. So yeah, go in there, use code PRP. But thank you all for coming through to this episode. Really appreciate it. I already see people getting off the emotions, and I'm right there with you. But Sutton, I have to ask you, how was your weekend? How was it?
My weekend was great. My weekend was great, man. It was one of those weekends where, I'm kind of relating this to the Ravens. Not a whole lot of pressure, not a whole lot of fear, going into Sunday. I'm just thinking like, we should be able to beat the Browns, right? It's the Browns, right? So all weekend I'm just kind of carrying that mentality, and then Sunday rolls around 1 p.m. and I'm just reminded yet again why you can never look past these divisional games. Doesn't matter who it is. I know we own the Bengals. I'm not looking past any of those games either. The Browns have our number, and we got our annual loss to them out of the way. I saw you tweet about it yesterday. You said you thought we got our bozo loss out of the way with the Raiders in week 2. I did too, but you didn't account for the divisional bozo loss. There's one of each. There's like a random bozo loss, and then there's a divisional bozo loss. There's 2 of them, So those are pretty much guaranteed. It showed up yesterday, and by the end of it, I was really upset because there were a lot of missed opportunities, which we'll get into a lot of those throughout the episode. But also just the same problems that we've been seeing all season long, they're still persistent. I mean, they're happening week in and week out, and it's the defense, right? And I guess we can go ahead and we can just kind of get into it, right? But before we do have a super chat donation. This one's coming from Jeremy Early, pouring in the early super chat donation. Thank you so much, Jeremy. We appreciate you making it rain here on episode 274 of the Purple Rain Podcast. The secondary is poop, and we are one injury away from the wide receivers room being bad. This team needs to make moves. We cannot waste this offense. So yeah, I mean, Alex, we're getting right into it, right? Let's get right into it with this talk here. This from Jeremy. He's right. The secondary is trash. It seems to be and I saw somebody tweet about this earlier today. I think it was Kurt Binkert. Some of you guys might be familiar with him.
Yep.
Post content online. He was saying that how unsound this Ravens defense is, and specifically the secondary. Like guys literally just are not covering guys. It's almost like they don't really understand their assignment 100%. And when you don't understand your assignment 100%, this is with anything in life. You kind of play back, right? You play back a little bit and you just kind of let things happen in front of you so then you can kind of read and react in real time. And that's what it kind of seems like is happening. These guys are not racing to the ball. They're not flying around the field. They're just not. And I think that's in part due because they're not in the right places. And the fact that we do have a lot of star players on our team, like we have a Kyle Hamilton, we have a Nnamdi Madubuike, we have a Roquan Smith, who a lot of people have their quarrels with him, but I still consider him a star player. Uh, our defense can kind of make up for it in spots, right? The Kyle Hamilton strip sack yesterday, things like that. We can make up for it in spots with like a big turnover, but there is no consistency. And literally every single quarterback, whether it's Jameis Winston, Baker Mayfield, uh, uh, um, 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 who did we just play
Dak,
yesterday?
Mahomes,
Jameis Winston.
Burrow,
It
Jaden.
it is it does not matter. They sit back in the pocket, they pack the football, they have no worries about pressure, and they throw it with so much confidence. You ever been watching the broadcast of the game, Alex, right? And it's clear what the NFL wants you to watch while a play is developing. They want your eyes to be on the quarterback and what's going on around the quarterback, right? So when you're watching any team play the Ravens defense and you see their quarterback just dropping back and throwing with so much confidence, it's almost like it's complete. Or at least this is for me. It's a completion before it even gets to the receiver. Just with how much confidence the quarterback is throwing the football with. It's just so crazy that we're not able to generate any type of pressure. The back end cannot hold up for anything. And this is not even just like in the second half. It's like all game. It's all game. Last week, Monday Night Football, the Bucks were throwing the ball all over us from the very beginning. At one point, it felt like they were setting up the run with the pass. That's what it felt like. And yesterday, man, man, I can't agree enough with what Jeremy says here. He says the wide receiver room. That's the only thing I'd kind of push back on Jeremy here. I'm not really a big advocate for going out and getting like a star wide receiver, trading like making a big splash there. I'm an edge rusher guy through and through right now. If we cannot get the opposing team's quarterback on the ground, we will not win games, right? Or at least we will not win the most important games. That's just my take. But what do you think about all this?
So I don't want to forget we have Darius, who also had a super chat saying, "Can this defense please tighten the hell up?" And yeah, so I'm going to incorporate both these. So thank you both for the super chats.
Yes, thank you, Darius.
Jeremy, talk about the secondary. I think this defense is Kyle Hamilton and 10 bozos around him at points. I really do. He feels like the only guy on this team doing everything. And with that drop pick yesterday, yes, it would have won us a game. That guy's already done enough, it feels like, and he should have caught that. But, like, what more can we ask him to do? He's doing everything and then some. He's blowing up plays. He's the only one on defense making plays. We have all this money invested, and I'm seeing no output. We have $70 million right there. $70 million not playing a snap. And we sit here and we talk about receivers. You can trade for a guy with a big contract if you're going to let $70 million sit on your bench. Just don't pay him at that point. It is just frustrating to no end. And guys know, what Brandon Stevens' game is. You can pick on him. Zach Orr, huge fan of his player, huge fan of you as a linebackers coach. As a defensive coordinator, why are we allowing so much cushion and bringing all-out blitz? Is that Wink Martindale or is it Zach Orr? Because I can't tell the difference right now. You're bringing cover zero when we had to hold him to a field goal, and you are allowing touchdowns. Eddie Jackson, do not sit here and let me start on you. I see why the Bears let you go. That was a poor, pitiful performance. 2 touchdowns on your head. When there was just I would have kept Tony Jefferson at that point and over Eddie Jackson. Name me one good play he's had all year. He had a good open field tackle yesterday, but outside of that was awful. Like, what happened to the defense of the Ravens that we fucking know and love? I had somebody tell me, they responded to my tweet, we haven't had a good defense in 2012. Our defense in 2012 is mid as fuck. All right, last year was a triple crown. It was a triple crown defense last year. We lost all those guys, and we bring in a new DC. And I'm going to piggyback off what you told me before. This is a Super Bowl contender. And you hire a rookie DC with no experience as a defensive coordinator, just a linebackers coach, never called plays before. and you think that's a good idea. Contending team, by the way. Contending team. Rookie
Championship
DC.
window. I I don't know. I really don't have the words, Alex. Jeremy, he sends another super chat donation here. Shout out to Jeremy. Thank you so much, man. It says bad defenses have to get turnovers to be competent. Yes, there was a point in that game yesterday. I think it was literally in the second quarter. Second quarter was when Kyle Hamilton got the strip sack, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. It was before the strip sack. I tweeted. You can go look it up on X. You can follow me at Sutton Def. I said it. It feels like this is going to be another game where the defense is going to have to force a turnover in order for us to get going. And we force that turnover. We go down. We score the touchdown immediately. And I thought we were good, but the defense came back out and just stunk it up again and again and again, drive after drive after drive. They made Jameis Winston look like Tom Brady in spots. Like, I mean, he was just out there just dealing. You know what I mean? Like, I think you had I think I have the stats pulled up here for the Browns receivers yesterday. It was embarrassing. It was embarrassing. Cedric Tillman,
Embarrassing.
7 catches for 99 yards and 2 touchdowns. Elijah Moore, 8 catches for 85 yards. Jerry Jeudy, 5 for 79. Njoku, 5 for 61. Like you cannot have that, man. You just cannot have that, man. And I said this after the Bengals game earlier this season. There was a point in that game where I felt like the Ravens were never going to win, no matter how good they were on offense, because every time we would score on offense, we would give the ball right back to them and they would score on us, right? So it was just like a zero-sum game. We were never going to be able to catch up. And yeah, you're totally right about this one, Jeremy. Defenses have to get bad defenses, that is, have to get turnovers to be competent. That's us right now. We do not look good by any stretch of the imagination. You bring up Eddie Jackson, Alex, and yes, he did have the 2 touchdowns on his head, directly on his head top. That was just embarrassing, especially the second one. I mean, the first one, you're going up against a bigger body tight end, David Njoku. I can understand if you can't like wrestle the ball away from him, even though I think he got his arm in there. It just wasn't enough. David Njoku's a talented guy. I think I've always, had a lot of respect for him. But that second one, right, where Cedric Tillman just runs right by him. Like if you are the last line of defense. It was man coverage. It was the 6th straight all-out blitz that they sent on that drive, right? Because Zach Orr ran out of answers. He ran out of answers. Let's just call it what it is. He did not know what else to do, and I can't fault him 100% because look, we lost Brent Urban to a concussion. We lost Michael Pierce. He had a calf in the first quarter, right, or in the first half in general. So we were already down defensive linemen. That was going to also affect our pass rush. So we had to try to find some way to get pressure on Jameis Winston. Otherwise, he was going to sit back there and it was just going to be target practice. It was a mini camp drill at that point. No pressure, just sit back there and deliver the ball wherever it needs to go. But yeah, Eddie Jackson, the reason why he played 100% of the snaps was because Marcus Williams did not play in this game. And that's a decision that, of course, we have not talked about just yet. And I wanted to get your opinion on this, Alex. What did you think about John Harbaugh's decision to ultimately not play Marcus Williams and instead insert an Eddie Jackson, who's used to playing maybe about like 30%, maybe 40% of the snaps, like a rotational guy? He's not used to the game speed.
Yep.
Right. So I don't, it's not that I can't say like I don't blame him for dropping the 3 picks, but he's just not used to this game speed. He has not been playing that much. But what was your take on the whole Marcus Williams situation?
I'm looking forward to hearing yours because I think it is boneheaded. I think it is stupid. I think it's many things. If you're not going to play him, inactive, healthy scratch. Healthy freaking scratch. Because we had Adisa Isaac and Ojabo inactive. We could use one of them. I'm not saying they would have made a difference, but it's just even switching out guys for just some rest. To just sit, dress him up and sit him there like he's in timeout. That's kind of what it felt like to me. Like, oh yeah, you can get dressed. You're not going to go on the field. You can watch your friends play. You're not going to go on the field. Like, what do you make out of that? What do you gain from that? Is kind of what I'm getting at.
Right.
And I'm not saying we would have won the game with him, but maybe if he's in those positions, I'm liking his chances to come down with the ball over Eddie Jackson any day of the week. Not to sit here and say that he's been the worst safety I think graded by PFF. But I'm looking at guys like Ardarius Washington. You could play him. I know he's dropped his, but he's actually breaking up passes. How even we haven't seen Bo Braid out there, but he is UDFA. So for the sake of this and for the sake of taking my bias out of it, I'm not going to mention him. it just feels like you're kind of setting this team up to fail now at this point. Um, and I'll get started on Ojabo now. That's a second round pick right there. A second round pick,
Mm,
healthy scratch. I'm not going to go on the Pickens versus Ojabo thing because I don't think Pickens would have succeeded here because I don't think Harbaugh would have given him a chance. What I'm saying is that you have got to stop making picks based on Michigan now. I think that's safe to say
mm.
because I thought this would have been the one. I thought this is going to be the one to work out. Now we go down to Michigan line. Ben Bredesen didn't perform here. Um, performed elsewhere. Ben Mason did he even play in a game for us? Ojabo,
No.
healthy scratch, healthy scratch. Like, what are we doing? Like, and we're scared to trade picks. The Chiefs, I hate to say this, they trade for Hopkins. They traded for Josh Uche today. We need a receiver
Mm.
and edge rusher. They did that, and to be fair, they needed it. But as edge rusher, we needed a lot more than they do. And our picks, we're picking guys who Salah Amuvle, he's been cut already. He's in the practice squad. We have other guys who just TJ Tampa on the IR already. We drafted Pepe Williams. Where's he at? He doesn't have a team right now. Armor Davis, what has he done? It was his first game yesterday, basically with us. Like we are picking these
What up,
guys and we're
LBHT?
hoarding. What's going on, LBHG? Appreciate you for coming through. We are picking guys that have no future with us. We are developing them.
Yeah.
Tez Walker, fourth round pick. It is game on the line. He is the tallest receiver on this team, and he is not in the game. What sense does that make? Where's the logic? Put all the big guys. It's going to be a jump ball, not smaller guys. It's just it is frustrating.
Yeah. I mean, you're hitting the nail on the head there. I think, like you said, you have to be able to make sense of these things. Like the practicality of it all is just not there. You know, Tez Walker, the fact that he has not seen the light of day yet, he has not seen the field that, on offense at all. That's unacceptable, largely. David Ajabo, who is now all of a sudden he's so expendable to where if we need to activate an extra defensive lineman or a DB or something like that, we can sit him because he's not making an impact. Like that's a problem. We have a legit issue right now, with I think especially drafting edge rusher. Uh, it's been bad, man. It's been bad. I think that this team, like you said, the Chiefs are going all in, doing what they need to do. Just got Josh Uche today,
Undefeated,
who,
by the way.
undefeated, undefeated, and still making moves, still making power moves in this league. Last week, you see they go out and they get a DeAndre Hopkins. This week, they get an edge. So they're only getting better. EDC, the ball is officially in your court. I'm sure he knows that. John Harbaugh said at the presser today that they probably will. I think he said that they definitely will get somebody before the deadline. That's just because that's what Eric likes to do. So we'll see who the Ravens decide to go after. But for me, it's got to be an edge rusher. It's one of the premium positions on the team that we're missing. But before we get into any of that, let me go ahead and see what you guys are saying here in the comments. I know you guys were sounding off. April123 says the whole team is on the jugs machine all week. I agree. I tweeted that yesterday too, man. I mean, like we talked about the drops from Eddie Jackson, brutal, right? Especially the one that goes right through his hands, quite literally right through his hands. And that play, I think it was a deep ball. It would have been more like an arm punt anyway.
Yeah,
But there were a couple more where they would have been very, very impactful if he would have came down with them. But of course, the worst one of all the drops yesterday, and I hate to bring up his name because he's so damn good,
yeah.
and I still want his jersey, and I still will have his jersey. Kyle Hamilton. I went back and I just watched it again like a few minutes ago before the show. If he catches that pick, there is about a minute, literally like 1 minute left, 60 seconds. They have three timeouts. We win that game. We win that game. We go home. Like that. It was so baffling to me. And somebody tweeted today, like, Kyle Hamilton making plays throughout the game and whatnot, but then when it mattered the absolute most, you can't make the biggest play. That's kind of like a representation of what the Ravens have been going through in the past half a decade. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just it's so crazy because that was the easiest pick of the day. Alex, literally, Hamilton was the wide receiver on the play. Hamilton was the wide receiver, and the receiver was the DB. Because Winston threw it right to him, and I don't know if Hamilton's eyes got big. They probably did. Like the ball's coming right to me. Like basically, the game is coming right to me. If I catch this ball, my team wins. We go home with a W. Marlins on victory IG live, even though he didn't play. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
that's what it
yeah.
is. But he kind of bobbles it. It gets up on him quick, right? I think he catches it like right here, like on the shoulder almost. It kind of pops up. He tips it to himself, makes it a little bit easier. Hamilton is one of the most athletic guys on the team. I'm just so flabbergasted on how he did not come down with that football. But that was by far the worst play of the day, the worst drop of the day. It broke my heart, shattered it into a million pieces because I knew right then and there, okay, we are not meant to win this game, obviously. But what did you make of the Hamilton drop?
Unfortunately, I was on the stream and I saw Jeff Sarebeck tweet it out, and I was like a play behind, and I'm like, all right, let me just kind of get myself ready. I thought maybe maybe it was like a contested one, maybe it was hard, and just the way it was like it was right to him. There was no reason to not drop it because he probably makes that catch 99 times out of 100 in training camp, mini camp, all those going through
Yes.
those drills where he runs his kind of just backpedals, makes a turn, turns his head, ball's right there. He makes up that play in the game he doesn't, and to win us the game it doesn't. So yeah, unfortunately, yeah, SG is correct here. The pressure did, and that's kind of what happens when you're the only one making plays on defense. One thing I do want to talk about, I want to get your opinion. What did you make of the Derrick Henry wildcat play on the first drive on 4th and short?
Okay. So in my three reasons that I came up with why the Ravens lost this football game, one of them was that Derrick Henry Wildcat play. 4th and 1 on the what maybe we're on like the 6 or the 7. I can't remember exactly where we were. But I think we were inside the 10, I want to say. Why in the world would you tell everybody in the world exactly what you're gonna do before you do it? Like it's almost like, I understand when to come out there and impose your will, assert dominance, let them know what you're going to do up front and still do it. You know what I mean? But it's like this is a divisional game. This is a divisional matchup. It's more physical. They know what we want to do already. So you just made it easier for them. They made it so easy for the Browns defense on that 4th and 1 when you put Derrick Henry in the backfield alone. Well, he had Patrick Ricard right there blocking for him on that right side. And I think that was the plan all along. But they can see that coming from a mile away. So what do? They load the box almost to the point where they almost forget to put a guy out on Lamar who's lined up at the X, damn near on the sideline. It's like, bro, I tweeted this earlier today too. There should be no plays in the offensive playbook that do not require Lamar Jackson to at least touch the football. Like he has to be a threat on every single play. This is why he's a $52 million a year quarterback. This is why he's a two-time MVP and threatening for a third. You have to have the threat of Lamar Jackson on these high leverage plays. And if you think about it, Alex, I think that was the beginning of the end, because we got the ball first, which means they got the ball at the half, right? They scored on their first possession of the second half, right? If we would have scored and came away with 7, I'm not even saying like, forget the 3. People are saying, oh, you should have taken the 3, should have took the 3, should have took. Forget that. I'm with going for it on 4th and 1 right there. But put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands, right? If anything, let him do a read option with Derrick. Something. You have to put the defense in a bind. Like you just have to do that. And I truly do believe if we put the ball in Lamar Jackson's hands on that play for maybe like a play he rolls out to the right, Lamar outside of the pocket, the possibilities are endless. He can make something happen at any point. So I just don't see why Todd Monken would decide to. And I think they said it was Harbaugh's decision. I want to say somebody said that. I don't know exactly how true that is, but that was so ill-advised, man. And I think that if we would have came away with 7 there, and that would have given our defense way more confidence going on the field, like knowing that we're already up, we're playing ahead, and that game could have went so different. That game could have went so different. That first drive was huge, man. But what did you think of it?
The only way I could maybe excuse it is if it was like a pass play, Derrick Henry, because I don't think they were expecting that. Like, it was snap it, catch it, run like a little forward, and then jump up and throw it.
Hmm.
That I would have understood. But the Wildcat with him running it, there's no excuse for that. Like you said, everybody knows where he's going. The only way I would have excused it if it's a home game at the bank and that's the play. The crowd's loud. You don't know, but you're in their stadium. First drive,
Yeah,
that wasn't got too cute. And once again, the little tush push with Charlie Kolar at quarterback. Stop getting cute. Like stop. Like what? It screwed us against the Raiders. Screwed us against the Browns. Guess what happened in
yeah,
both those games? We lost. Who would have thunk it? So
yep.
let's stop getting cute. You thrive off this bully ball. Then bully ball it. Run a halfback dive up the middle, or run the read with Lamar and Derrick Henry. I can't agree with you enough. You want your best player to touch the ball as many times. And when your best player is a quarterback, you don't get cute like that. You don't. And if he rolls out and a guy's in his face, he can make a miss. He can make two guys. He can make three guys miss and still make something out of nothing. Awful freaking play there. And honestly, I think we have the two most embarrassing losses of the year in the NFL. The Raiders, when you look at them now, what team they are. They had Desmond Ritter in the game yesterday. Desmond Ritter.
Yeah.
And this Browns team, the Jameis Winston out here giving freaking quotes it before the game, after the game. Like, we'll be in an NFL commercial during the Super Bowl. It'll be Jameis Winston narrating it. Like, this team, it's a make-a-wish team sometimes, it feels like. So this you've got to clean it up in so many places. Yeah, or you can use Ricard, block somebody. It's hard to, put shit, shed him off a block. It's just, I don't freaking know, man. This team is just unbearable sometimes.
Yeah, and it's just so unfortunate that, it feels like we're wasting away like such a talented offense right now. Um, and we'll talk about the offense in a little bit too, but the fact that this defense can just be this bad, I think we were last in the league in pass plays 15 yards or more. I think we've given up like 40 of those this season. We're last in the league in pass yards allowed per game, you know? Like it's just mm, can't win a Super Bowl like that. Point blank period. Point blank period. And there's a lot of blame to go around. Some people will put the blame on the players. A lot of people put the blame on the coach, Zach Orr, laying the blame at his feet. Do you think that there needs to be a reevaluation of the defensive coordinator position with Zach Orr struggling so much recently? Because you see this Ravens defense is not just the lack of execution in securing turnovers. It's
Yeah.
miscommunication. It's confusion pre-snap. You know what I mean? It's like the guys were saying, trying to disguise everything and be more complicated and kind of get cute on defense when we really don't have that luxury right now. Like that's a huge issue for me. And seems like these guys just really aren't out there ready to play. So what do you think about Zach Orr right now? Do you think that the Ravens should maybe kind of put him on a short leash, or do you think that they let him finish out the season, keep the continuity? Because it's what do you think?
Yeah. It is definitely eyes on him, microscope. Like, I am looking at him very closely because this is unacceptable. This team is 32nd. It feels like in every category, or just bottom,
Yeah.
bottom quarter, bottom eighth, like 28th and below. Like, we're in every major stat for defense, and to be a contender, that's not sliding at all. Not with. I mean, how far do you get with a bad defense in the NFL? The Chiefs have Spags, and they shut down these great teams. Like, I'm waiting for that to be us, but I'm looking at them very close, and you got Denver coming up this week, and I will be there. I will be at the game, so I'll get to watch this in person again. Um, if you can't sit here and shut down a rookie quarterback and Bo Nix, who is very efficient, is low key might be the second best rookie quarterback so far this year.
Mm.
Um, you have to look at yourself and ask a lot of questions, and then what is best for this team. And John Harbaugh, I'm looking at you. How many more years do you have left coaching at the top level with a team like this, with the talent you have? You got to make those tough decisions. So I'm not, that leash is short right now for me.
Yeah, no, I agree. Let me see. The April 123 says, I think Dean Pease takes over play calling duties eventually. KP says it's crazy how the defense got worse when Dean Pease arrived. Tanja Bowman says Zach Orr should have kept the scheme from last season. Why reinvent the wheel? Uh, man, I mean, I kind of agree with what you're saying here, Tanja. But every coach is gonna have their styles and things like that. And I think Zach Orr really kind of showed his hand yesterday, like literally like all he's got. And I said this a couple of weeks ago before we played the Bengals. For a rookie defensive coordinator, just calling any game is gonna be tough. But calling your first couple divisional games is going to be a much harder puzzle to solve, because these teams know your team better than you know your team in some ways. And like a lot of the things that you do are going to get shut down. And you saw yesterday, even with Lamar Jackson, and here's where I give credit to Lamar, big props. Even with, his passing numbers that he was throwing into some tight windows damn near all game. You know what I mean? Like the Browns were all over. They were blanketing the Ravens wide receivers for a lot of that game. And, all credit to their defense for that. But I just think that Zach Orr, they're going to give him more of a leash, right? I don't think that they're going to look at a divisional game and say, all right, that's it for you. Like, we're going to go ahead and move on. I think there would have to be, unfortunately, there would have to be a lot more, just terrible
Yeah.
games where we're giving up 30 or more, for them to kind of reconsider. But and then also, how loyal they are to their guys. Zach Orr is a homegrown guy. They'll probably let him finish out the season. And if he doesn't get any better, man, it's just because, like I said, again, yesterday, it got to a point where it looked like he had ran out of answers. And I know that we were kind of lacking on the personnel front at that point, but man, it just does not look good, the product that he's putting out on the field right now. And I really, really hope it gets better and fast, because none of these teams now no team is like an easy game. You know what I mean? There are no pushovers, right? We're getting destroyed by the likes of Jameis Winston's and Gardner Minshew's, right? So you can't count anybody out. You just can't count anybody out. About 80 people watching live in here right now on this episode 274 of the Purple Rain Podcast.
Thank
Hello,
you.
hello, hello.
Thank you.
Make sure you like the video. Like the video helps us out a ton. And then also subscribe to the channel if you are new and enjoying the content that you are currently consuming. All right, let me see. Josh Hoffman here says, I'm not worried about Zach Orr
Yes.
because I'm counting on that pedigree of Ravens DCs. Shame if it takes a year before he gets it together. Weaver and Wilson both had way more experience.
Like I love Zach Orr, love him as a player, like him as linebackers coach. This is no disrespect towards him. Do you think his door was lining up with guys asking him to be a defensive coordinator? Yes or no? Did we hear about
No,
it?
absolutely not.
Did we hear about Anthony Weaver? Anthony Weaver is getting head coaching whispers. Yeah. Denard Wilson, like this secondary, he had Ronald Darby playing lights out last year. The secondary was locked down. We were locking down some of the best guys up. What did Jamar Chase do against us last year? What did they do? What did the best receivers do to us? So one of those guys, like, and Weaver is your assistant head coach. To me, that seemed like the right pick right there. It seemed, once again, homegrown guy. Went through the ranks, was the interim head coach with Houston. Like, he had a lot of experience. Now, you go to somebody on the complete opposite end with very little experience. Like, the right choices were there, I thought, and they made the wrong one. And I do hope Zach Orr turns it around. I'm gonna be rooting for him, but we need to see answers quick. This isn't an MLB 162 game season. You have 17 games. Every game matters that much more, especially divisionally. Now we're 1-1 in the division, and the Steelers have had our number for the past couple of years. So what are you gonna do? Time to step it up.
Yeah, and it's like at this point, honestly, we're probably going to have to sweep the Steelers in order to have like a chance at the division. So especially if the Steelers win tonight over the Giants, it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be tough sledding ahead for this team. I know we have a stretch coming up around the Christmas time where we have like what 3 games in 10 days or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
So it's not going to get any easier. I think our bye week is not even until after that, I want to say, um, yeah, yeah, tough sledding ahead for this Ravens team. The defense needs to get it the heck together, or else we can kiss these Super Bowl hopes goodbye. Because we're talking about teams like the Browns being able to just kind of walk all up and down the field on us at will. We're talking about teams like the Browns and the Raiders who we can score and take a lead on them with 2 minutes to go and still think that that's too much time that we
Yep.
left on the clock. Like it's embarrassing. It really is. And this is another thing that I said yesterday on Twitter. I say a lot on Twitter during the games. So if you follow me on Twitter, I live tweet the games, and it's a lot of fun until it isn't, and then I'm just like I'm pissed off.
Pain. Yeah.
But yeah, it's pain. But no, I tweeted. I was like, this seems like another day where the offense is gonna have to play defense. And that's what it felt like. Like I take touchdowns with a grain of salt nowadays, just because I know that this defense is gonna come out and they're gonna let the other teams kind of march right down. And no, it's not on every drive, but the Browns only punted 3 times yesterday. There's 4 quarters in the game. They punted 3 times. Made them punt 3 times. That is just it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable, man. And like it's let's get into some more of these comments here. Alex, you got anything for me?
No, we can just keep on talking about this game, man. I'm just still
Oh,
frustrated.
I got one. I got one for you. I got one for you.
Okay.
MDT Sports says here Sutton thought Bateman was number one. Okay. All right. So it's time to talk about Rashad Bateman, right? Um, he had 2 drops in yesterday's game. Both I thought were bad drops, to be honest with you. He should have had them both. I don't think that we have the right to just kind of discredit everything that Rashad Bateman has done for us thus far this season, though. Um, Also, I still like the chemistry that him and Lamar Jackson are building. I think it's going to need a couple of more games in order for it to really kind of manifest itself into something like concrete and consistent. But shitting on Rashad Bateman is just not it's not what you want to do as a Ravens fan, because at the end of the day, that is our wide receiver too. I don't care if you like it or not. I don't think that EDC is going to go out and get another wide receiver before the trade deadline that's going to replace what Rashad Bateman does. I don't think that we're going to get somebody who's going to replace him as wide receiver too. I just don't. Now that deep ball on 3rd and 14 that Lamar Jackson kind of scrambles out of the pocket for and just throws it at the last second, that one was really bad because not Lamar, but Bateman. It kind of looked like he was coming back to the ball as he's been doing recently, right? And you got to respect Bateman for it because that's a part of his game that he's developed in terms of chemistry with Lamar Jackson. He was coming back to the ball, and it kind of felt like he was getting to the ball at a weird angle, and he kind of lost his footing a little bit. And the combination of that, and then also he said in the post game presser, that's he was tracking the ball until it got right there up on him. I guess the sun got in his eyes or something like that. Again, he's a professional wide receiver. I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for the guy. But like I said, again, don't he's a damn good receiver, right? He may not be the best, but he's our wide receiver too, and I believe in him. And I'm going to keep pushing the Bateman agenda. I don't know about you, Alex, but I'm going to keep pushing this agenda. But what did you think about that?
I'm gonna be right there next to you. Was a bad game. I'm not gonna sit here and say it wasn't because that'd be stupid. Very bad drop. Awful drop. Um, I just don't get. He feels like the scapegoat, and I'll say it right now. He's just this year's version of Patrick Queen. When things are bad, you point at him. You
Yep.
can probably come at me for saying that. He wasn't the one who played bad, but as wide receiver too, and as somebody who's been extended and somebody who'll be here with Lamar, you need him to make these catches, keep that chemistry going. Josh brings
Yeah.
up a great point. Do we think Lamar will keep throwing to him now? I don't know. I don't know. Like it's worrying in that point. And then I'm on the trade for receiver train. I am. I would like to see us get one, but right now, who do you get? I don't think they're going to trade Cortland Sutton, who I would love to get because they are a 5-3. They're the same record
Yeah.
as us. Do I think it's a legit 5-3? That's a different story for maybe Thursday's episode. But if you're 5-3 and you see the way this AFC is, the Jets, who everybody was penciling in to be a playoff team before the year, they're not going to make it. They're freaking 2-6, losing to the Patriots yesterday. That season's over. People were talking to the Chargers. They had that win against Saints yesterday, but do you think are they going to make it? The Texans without Nico Collins look kind of spooky. The Jags, who people love, and Trevor Lawrence, they're not good. Like, if I'm a Broncos fan, yeah, I might be able to make the wild card, and who knows what we can do in the playoffs. Why would I trade Cortland Sutton or Patrick Surtain? They're not going to. So I'm looking at other guys now. People mention Romeo Dobbs, but are we going to take a chance on a guy who was missing practice? Probably not. He's not the Ravens culture guy. So I don't think we're going to trade for one. I want us to. I don't think it's going to happen. Edge rusher, there's a better chance of that happening. But knowing the Ravens, get ready for Julio Jones or Michael Thomas to come in, guys. I mean, that's kind of what it feels like if we're going to get a receiver. And that's just the truth. Not saying I want it to happen, but I feel like it's what's going to happen.
Yeah. And I see you guys in the comments here saying that's fine, but we need to stop overhyping one good game from Rashad Bateman. This is coming from Killer Cam. Shout out to Killer Cam.
This is what I mean,
Let's
scapegoating. This is
but
like,
exactly, and it's not just one good game. I mean, you might say, oh, his only if a good game for a wide receiver has to be 100 yards and a touchdown, then sure, right? But this is a guy who has been a constant chain mover all season long, right? And like 9 times out of 10, I think he catches that deep ball. You know, he
yeah.
caught one last week against the Bucks. But like I said again, man, all season long he's been catching first downs and moving the chain. So I'm gonna keep believing in him. I know Lamar Jackson, most importantly, is gonna keep throwing him the football. And next week, Cam, you'll see he's gonna put up some numbers again, more than likely, or maybe the week after that. He's a wide receiver too. You know, our passing game is very, very nuanced as it is. You know, in terms of pass catchers in general, he's probably like I'd say like the third or maybe fourth natural option, right? Because you still got Mark Andrews, likely Zay, all those guys. So yeah, and then Nelson Aguilar, he had a drop as well. Uh,
Um, I want to give some
yeah,
love to Zay Flowers real quick. Another 100
sure.
yard game. That was like a sneaky 100 yard game. Playing
Sneaky,
hurt.
yeah,
Much respect. And nobody's saying a top 5 receiver. Guys, JSN was a first round pick. Bateman has more yards than him. In a pass happy offense. So I'm kind of forced to defend him because he hasn't had his fair share of injuries. I think out of any Ravens on this team, he takes the most accountability. I want to see the same energy for Roquan Smith, who wasn't there for the presser yesterday, who did not talk to the media at all. This is the same Roquan Smith who
mm,
says, "Lock the fucking gates." He'll say, "I'll die for this." I want to see it on the field. I'm not seeing that from this defense. This defense dying on the field. You're making me die inside. 32nd ranked in defense. Ray Lewis right now is like, what am I watching? Ed Reed, Terrell Suggs, Lonata, Bart Scott, and those guys. Hell, the guy behind me, Michael McCrary. This defense used to mean something in this city. Now guys walk down the field on us. Come on now, bro. Like that is not Ravens defense. And you are not winning shit. And yes, I just cursed. You are not winning shit with a 32nd overall ranked defense. It's that simple. So John Harbaugh, get this fucking team right. 5-3. There's a lot of season left, but it's just frustrating right now.
yeah, yeah. Comment from Shad Hakeem here. What's going on, bro? Says, with how the defense is playing, are you guys sure we'll make the playoffs? Like, forget the Super Bowl talk for right now. If we can't win the next two, we're gonna be 5-5. Um,
Yep.
yeah, that is valid. Is valid. You know, let me pull up our schedule right now just so I can run through it.
Yeah. It's Broncos, Bengals, and it's short week. We have the Bengals on Thursday night. That's the Purple Rising game. So
Yeah,
it's like the only time our defense showed up was the whole Darkness Rising game or Darkness whatever, and like the crowd was like setting unreal noise. Like you need the crowd to be that amazing for the defense to play well that game. That's kind of what it feels like. So yeah, it's Broncos Bengals. You win those next two, you're in a good spot. But defensively, you got to see something from those
you
guys.
have to.
You
You
have
have
to.
to. I mean, we're talking about you're going up against Bo Nix with, Sutton and those boys. Burrow, who has been playing better. They took a loss to the Eagles yesterday. But Higgins and Jamar Chase are always going to be a thorn in our side as they were earlier this season as well. And then of course you got the Steelers who have our number. They've had our number the past couple of seasons. Largely the entire Lamar era. We haven't really been able to get over on them a bunch of times. So there's some tough games coming up. And I think it's very, very valid what Shad brings up here. Like, are we going to make the playoffs? Because at this point, we got to beat the Steelers. We have to beat the Steelers in order to secure the division. There are a lot of other teams, like we mentioned before, that aren't really living up to expectations in the AFC. So there will be a little bit more, I think, wiggle room by the time it's all said and done. at the end of the season, the regular season that is. But no, valid concerns, man. And this is why the title of the video says, "What is our level of concern after this Ravens loss to the
Yeah.
Browns, man?" Because it's just with how the defense is looking, I don't really see how you win a whole bunch more games if Lamar Jackson is not playing 1,000% perfect, right? And the
Yep.
offense is not 100% perfect, you know? So, like, we shouldn't need like a scramble deep ball on 3rd and 14 to Rashad Bateman to be our savior, for that game. Like, the defense needs to make a fucking stop. And I'm sorry that I just cursed, but like that's what it really boils
You
down
don't have to
to. Like
apologize.
it's
It's
not
authentic.
it's
Yeah.
not on the offense. This is not on the offense. It's not. This is a defensive issue. Point blank period. Point blank period.
Well, we're pessimistic. Actually, no, we're realists. If you sit here and you watch this team and like you're cool with that, with having with being championship contenders, with people labeling us the best team in the NFL, best offense, best team is in Kansas City, unfortunately, and the record shows that we have a lot to improve on. And this could, I want to look back and say, like, man, like, what were we talking about there if we lost to the
Right.
Browns? That was a turning point of our
Please.
season. Nothing will make me happier than that. So let's just come on and turn the season around now. But a lot to improve on, a lot to fix. And I sometimes wonder what you do in practice. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't seem like we practice anything because we still have a miscommunication where the running back is free on a swing, or it's the defense getting on the field late. A lot of communication issues for it being week 8 in the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah. Um and just also I don't know if we touched on this. We might have in the secondary. Brandon Stevens, I think that I don't know what to think. I don't know what to think. I'm kind of like reminded more and more every day that this guy is not really a natural DB. He played running back for the bulk of his college career, transitioned over to DB at the very end when he transferred. And it just doesn't really seem like he has a natural feel for the position sometimes. Like even on plays where the ball doesn't go his way, I see him getting beat, and it's like frustrating. It's like, bro, where was this last year? It just seems like everybody on the defense outside of Kyle Hamilton, for the most part, has taken a step back. And it's just baffling to see. And all I can do is turn to the coaching and say, hey, look, we had these same guys minus Geno Stone and Patrick Queen or and Ronald Darby last year, right? Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? Like, I just it baffles. It's beyond me, man. It's beyond me, and something has to change very, very quickly, or else, like Shad said, we might have to kiss playoff hopes goodbye. If we cannot stop a nosebleed, like what's been happening these past couple of weeks, like
Dude,
the Bengals are going to throw all over us at home. Bo Nix, who you said is probably one of the best rookie quarterbacks right now, is going to throw all over us at home. I don't know who's going to be starting quarterback for the Steelers by that time, but if Russell Wilson goes out there against the Giants tonight and has another good
dude,
game and they solidify him as the starter, and then we go to Pittsburgh and he throws all over us, I just
that
and then the
that
ultimate insult to
that
injury
first
is the Chargers.
bro, if we lose to a Greg Roman offense, you can kiss this season goodbye. I'm not saying it's gonna happen. I don't think it will. But the first
Yeah.
Russell Wilson freaking rainbow to George Pickens, and I'm gonna see him step over Brandon Stevens again. I'm crashing out. I'm losing. I'm throwing something. I'm throwing the hat on the ground. I'm throwing something. But yeah, I don't get it. It's like they are picking on him, and Josh brought up a fantastic point. Who was our defensive coordinator in 2014 when we blew not one, but two 14-point leads in the playoffs? Dean Pease, oh, Mr. Conservative.
Mm. Yeah.
I,
Yeah. That bend but don't break defense. But then it starts breaking and it's like it's it's
what type
it's
of
horrible
mentality
to
is that?
I know, right? Try to
You loser. Like, that's a
yeah,
losing ass mentality.
I
I
can't.
want foot on the throat. You hit them, you go like bend, don't break. You only bend so many times before it gets broken. Like it's
Well, Alex, I think the biggest thing, I mean, we're harping a lot on the coaches, we're harping a lot on, the lack of turnovers forced and I think what we really, really need to focus on is kind of like the trenches right now. And like when you think about
Yes.
it,
Yes.
like we were so banged up going into the game, right? Travis Jones,
Yeah.
he ended up being a game time decision. I think he had an ankle that he was dealing with. And Travis Jones still only played like 20 or 30% of the snaps. Right. So we were down Travis Jones, we were down Brent Urban. He went out in that game. Michael Pierce went out of that game. So I mean, we're down to Matabike and what? It's like, bro, I think that was probably the main reason why we lost that football game, because if you don't have a good defensive line and you can't give them problems up front, that quarterback is just going to get more and more comfortable. And guess what? Here's another thing that I noticed yesterday. Zach Orr started bringing a lot of blitzes once he realized that, hey, we cannot get any pressure without it, right? We cannot rush three or four guys and expect to get any sort of pressure on Jameis Winston. He's just going to throw it all over us. So we got to bring DBs. We got to bring the house. And Jameis Winston, and credit to him, he was getting to the line, right? He was making his checks, give a hut or two, see who's coming down to the line, see who's rushing, see who's not, make his checks, and then it was just an easy completion. Like we were just so predictable on defense that like any quarterback, any competent quarterback, I feel like could have done that. And that's what it's been this season. Like it doesn't matter who we're up against. Doesn't matter what caliber of competition. The only ironically enough, the best quarterback that we faced, or the second best quarterback that we faced this year, is Josh Allen. And he was the only one who was not able to get over on the Ravens defense for the most part. Um, so I don't know, man. It's just it's a lot of blame to go around. Again, I put a lot of it on the coaches, but then again, we're banged up on that defensive line, and that is kind of like the root of all of your problems, right? All of the problems
Yeah.
are going to be start and finished in the trenches. So that's something we got to think about.
Yeah. Um, I guess we can leave it there for the Ravens game. And we talked about everything we could.
Yeah,
Jugs
yeah,
machines, learn how to catch. Um,
yes,
it was a multitude of problems. So yeah, that was the Ravens game. We're 5-3, which not fun, but thankfully the Bengals are keep on losing, and the Steelers keep on winning, but they do have a tough schedule coming up. So I don't know, maybe they drop one tonight. Maybe they have a bozo loss tonight, like we do. So I'm looking forward to
that'd be
that.
nice.
Hopefully, that'll be very nice. Daniel
Sorry,
Jones,
boss.
yeah, no, screw you, boss. Um, yeah. So you want to talk about the rest of the league, or what else happened in the NFL yesterday?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, so the biggest thing to me outside of the Ravens game was the Commanders versus Chicago Bears game in Landover. That was a photo finish, right, to say the least. And the fact that Jaden Daniels even played in that game was surprising to me, because like all the talks throughout the week is that, Jaden Daniels, he's week to week, and he wasn't practicing all the way up until like Friday. He practiced a little bit. So I was thinking he wasn't going to play, and I thought that was probably going to be the smart move to not trot him back out there, and risk him getting hit again. And then now all of a sudden you're down your future franchise quarterback for at least the rest of the season because something terrible happens or whatever. But no, he played. He got hit, I think, one time in the ribs. Didn't feel too good to him. But for the most part, I think that just the defense really. It was really like a low scoring game for most of it, and then at the very end, that last play, man, that Hail Mary was just. I don't. You don't see that every day. Hell, you don't even see it every year in this league. And that was just one for the ages. I can only imagine the energy in that stadium. Shout out to all of our Washington Commanders fans who follow us on here. That was a huge victory for y'all. Y'all are 6-2 now with full command over the division. So yeah, shout out to them. But what did you think of that?
I got PTSD to when Matt Elam tipped the ball and AJ Green caught it in the back of the end zone in Baltimore. That like gave me like the tipped Hail Mary. Why are we
Yeah,
tipping it? Like why are we?
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like just try to bat it down or just that was awful. And Tyreek Stevenson, props for him apologizing to his team, but that goes to show poorly coached teams. And the Bears are one. So you can't be out here on a Hail Mary. And they were at the 40-yard line, 50-yard line. So this wasn't like it's Aaron Rodgers type Hail Mary. Like this was a really good chance for them to score here, and just taunting and that Noah Brown being the guy he had to box out, and Dre is right. Jaden Daniels Rookie of the Year. I gotta say he's the one. And yeah, the Hail Maryland. I don't know how I feel about that either. Little weird. But maybe they'll take it and run with it. Not too sure, but that was definitely the one to watch. I do want to talk about the Jets game real quick, losing to the Patriots,
Mm.
going out there trading for Devontae, firing Robert Saleh, and still haven't won a game yet. Aaron Rodgers not looking too good at all.
Yeah, I mean, I said this a couple of weeks ago, the game he threw 3 picks right before the solid firing. I was like, this guy doesn't look the same. And I don't think that, a change of coach and bringing in one of his best buddy wide receiver friends is going to really change anything because let's just face it, Aaron Rodgers is getting old, right? He's getting old, and this is not an old man's game, unfortunately, unless your name is Tom Brady. And that it kind of goes to show the greatness of Tom Brady when you think about it. The
Yeah,
fact that he was able to get, to that age. And I think somebody said yesterday, one of the defensive players for the Patriots said about Aaron Rodgers, like the guy looks old, he's slow, he's not mobile. Like I can run him down easily, you know the fact that like that wasn't able to affect players like Tom Brady and he was still able to kind of like do what he needed to do and in the biggest of moments that is, it's amazing. It really is. And I think that Aaron Rodgers, he is on the decline right now. Not to say that he can't turn things around, but at this point, 2-6, season's pretty much a wash, right? Unless you just go, you run the table here on out, and you get some luck. Season's pretty much a wash. So man, I don't know what you do if
yeah.
you're the New York Jets right now. What do you do?
Talent's insane. Like it's like okay, fire
Yeah,
sale, but you just traded assets and a lot of money for Devontae Adams. So
yeah.
I guess you run with it and hope something happens, but that wasn't good at all. Um, Other games, I was keeping my eyes on the Texans game and the Colts. That game was very close. I'm glad SG brings it up. Anthony Richardson coming out the game because he was tired, quote unquote, and his completion percentage.
That's
It's gotten
hilarious.
to the point now where he might not even start next week. Joseph Vincent Flacco might start next week. Joseph Vincent. Shane Steichen came out and
Yeah,
said
this
it's open.
yeah, go ahead. Yeah. It feels like this is one of those experiments that seem to be going wrong, you know what I mean? Like just drafting a physical specimen at quarterback because you think that he might be able to replicate something like a Josh Allen or a Lamar Jackson. And maybe the rest of the skill stuff will come later, the actual quarterback stuff. But 44% completion percentage, absolutely just unacceptable, man. And I know Anthony Richardson says, he's been playing football his whole life. Like, he's not gonna let this bad stretch get him down, whatever, whatever. But when your completion percentage is that low and you're leaving the game in the third quarter for a play, even for a play, because you are quote unquote tired, like, and on top of that, you're not really making a whole lot of plays to begin with. I just don't really know how he expects that to really go over with his teammates, with his coaches, with the fan base. It's just not a good look. It's just not a good look. So
Yeah,
he's gonna have to step things up in a big way. But yeah, just not looking good for him right now. Killer Cam says he's too raw. I agree.
yeah. He was very raw coming out of Florida. The Gators. Oh, Jags. I mean, Christian Kirk out for the year. Brian Thomas hurt. Um,
Mm,
Things go from worse to worse. I don't know how much worse you can get than the Jags right now with a lot of money tied up to Trevor Lawrence, and they just don't look like they have any type of future winning. So yeah, not good for that team in Florida. And the other team in Florida, Dolphins, with Tua coming back, losing to Kyler Murray and the NFC West leading Arizona Cardinals. Almost like you throw to your best weapon on the team in Marvin Harrison Jr. and good things happen. Who would have thought? Who would have thought about that?
yeah, yeah. Meanwhile, the Lions continue to roll. Your Lions, 52-14 victory over the Tennessee Titans. Titans, of course, not
Jared
the
Goff.
best team in the league. They got a pretty good defense, but the Lions, man, they are looking like world beaters right now, putting up this many points in back-to-back weeks, and it's looking good for them. I think that the NFC, I don't want to say it's wide open because if I had to pick somebody right now to come out of the NFC, I'd probably go with the Lions. Now, with the 49ers, I know they got the W last night against the Cowboys, and that's a
Mm.
whole nother story, right? But I just don't know. I really don't trust the 49ers right now. I know they haven't had McCaffrey all year. I think he's expected to come back in a couple of weeks or something like that. But I just haven't been able to trust him, especially after last week with Brock Purdy, just kind of giving the game away to the Chiefs. And that was so annoying in itself because I really, really, really wanted them to beat the Chiefs so we could have at least an outside chance at the 1 seed. But that's not even going to happen now. That's just completely gone with 3 losses on the Ravens. But the Lions, yeah, SG, the Lions do look very, very dangerous. I think that they have potential to come out the NFC.
Yeah, they do. And my only kind of worry about them is their pass rush, but it sounds like they will make a trade. And my prediction is Zadarius Smith will go to Detroit. I think that makes a lot of sense. Now we on his third NFC North team. It kind of just makes sense for him to go back up there. And then the Eagles. I want to just talk about them. They were struggling the first half, but that second half they looked like the old Eagles. They were turning the one. Devonta Smith was getting that ball. Jalen Hurts was getting his rushing touchdowns. And obviously having Saquon back there doesn't hurt at all.
Yeah.
But yeah, right now it's like the Lions, Commanders right under them. If the Commanders can trade for a cornerback to help out that secondary, that will do them a just a world of good, and that can really bump them up in the NFC. Because right now, for me, it's Lions, Commanders 1 and 2, and I don't trust the Niners either. With Ayuk out for the year, Debo Samuel will have his really good games and have games where he doesn't do much, and then Kittle will have his games like that too. Ashley brings up the Packers. Yeah, I saw Jordan Love's I word isn't that bad, which is good for the NFC sake because I like a competitive NFC. And then the Falcons as well, having the win over the Bucks yesterday. So there's definitely your classes of greatness in the NFC, and you have like your top ones. I'll go Lions, Commanders, and Packers right below them, and those guys. But look at the AFC
Right.
though; it's like the Chiefs and everybody else, unfortunately. And the Bills now they had a really good win against Seahawks, blew them out.
Yeah. Blew out the Seahawks. Chiefs are 7-0. They get the 27-20 victory over the Raiders, their divisional rival, and Travis Kelsey, for the first time in forever, has a big game, 10 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. I know, I know. And the Chiefs
Mr.
just
Prince.
continue to roll. And after a game like that, beating a divisional opponent to remain undefeated 7-0, hey, let's go out and get an edge rusher from the Patriots that they're clearly not using. He was a healthy scratch yesterday. And we'll throw you a 6-round pick for it. A 6-round pick. They're getting pieces that they need for pennies. Pieces for pennies. And Brett Veach, one of the best GMs, I think, in the league right now. You got to give him his credit. They have consistently positioned themselves to, be there in February, if I must say. It's just I'm hoping, and I guess we can end with this, Alex. Let's end with this. Let's talk about, as we still have over 80 people watching live right now. Thank y'all so much for joining. Like the video, subscribe to the channel as well. Let's talk about moving forward, the trade deadline.
Yes,
I think it is what, November 8th, I want to say. When is the trade deadline?
it's the same day as Election Day.
The 5th.
So while everybody's worrying about voting, I'm worrying about who the Ravens are going to help fix their pass rush. That's just
Okay.
the reality.
Right, exactly. Yeah, same. It's honestly same. Yeah, so it's just, yeah, man, I think that the Ravens need to take a big swing. Nothing like It needs to be a big swing, and I think it needs to be on defense. I need an edge rusher, whether that be, if we get a Zadarius Smith in, I'm sure, if anything, EDC, just do your due diligence, right? See who's available, see who's not. But we need a guy on defense. I'm thinking edge rusher is the primary point of concern for me. After that, maybe we get a DB from somewhere. I'm not sure, but edge and DB, those are my two. I know we signed somebody today. We got a defensive tackle earlier today, I want to say. I can't remember. Um, but yeah, what are your thoughts on the trade deadline? And do you think it needs to be a big swing, like surprise us swing, or like
Yeah,
something more expected, like maybe like a Mike Williams? You said you want a wide receiver, or is it Darius Smith, somebody like that? What do you think?
Deontay Johnson. I mean, I saw his name being thrown around. Um, it has to be a big swing, and I'm looking at it now. We made a big swing with Roquan Smith
Yeah.
with, at the time, Devin Duvernay was our wide receiver one. Demarcus Robinson was wide receiver one. So if you think that team had a chance of winning a Super Bowl, you look at this team now. Zay Flowers, who's put in multiple 100-yard games. This offense, which is firing all cylinders, with Derrick Henry back there, with the line playing a little bit better. I know the line, it wasn't the best yesterday. Myles Garrett is unreal. And then defensively, like, this team can't put up 35 points a game. And when they can't, you need the defense to help you out. So I'm looking at defense, and if receivers out there, I'll happily take one. It's not going to be a number one, but I need somebody who can high point a ball and can catch a ball, and not drop it in a big game. So that's really what I'm looking for. But edge rusher wise, I see Azeez Ojulari is being brought up by Tanja. That's somebody who me and you both liked. I remember years ago in
Yeah.
the draft, we talked about him extensively, and we thought we were going to get him over Owe. So will that be something if we got Ojulari just a couple years later? I saw Zarius Smith as a name. I see Jadeveon Clowney as a name. And my only gripe with that is, do we think Clowney can have the same production he had in this defense like in Mike McDonald? I don't think so. I'll just say it now. I don't think he'll be anywhere as close as good with this scheme of defense, because I'm looking at now, what we had these high hopes for Ojabo. What's he done? Calvin Noy's been producing, but just for Clowney, I don't see it. He hasn't looked the best with Carolina. So this is why EDC makes the big bucks. But give me a receiver and an edge rusher, and we can talk soon.
Yeah. I'm thinking an edge rusher and a DB. Not exactly sure who the edge rusher would be, but the DB, I mean, like SG says, Crosby is a dream scenario. It is definitely a dream scenario.
Yeah.
They already said that they don't want to trade him. He already says he wants to be a Raider, so I think that he is staying in Vegas.
For life.
Right. Unfortunately, because I think that you put him on this Ravens team, and they're championship favorites. I think that they are championship favorites, not contenders. I think that they are favorites with Max Crosby on this team. So yeah, man, it's gonna take a big splash, and like SG says, it needs to be a Roquan type move. Give that value for someone damn good. We've got 11 draft picks to use. I do not want us to have 11 draft picks post November 5th. I don't. Um, get a guy. The championship window is now. The time is now. I say it all the time on this podcast, man. We have this year and next season. That's it. Before Lamar Jackson becomes 25% of the cap, a quarter of the cap, and we have to make some tough decisions everywhere else on the roster. So now is the time, if you're going to win a Super Bowl, to really, really go for it. So we'll see what EDC does with the trade deadline quickly approaching. But I think we're going to go ahead and leave it there for this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast, episode 274. It was a painful one, but we got out, all of our feelings. It was a nice little vent session. If you're not watching this episode live, please comment down below in the comment section what you think about the current state of this Ravens team. What is your level of concern after this Ravens loss to the Browns, putting them at 5-3? It's a tough one, but it's one we got to get through. The only way out is through. Let us know how you're feeling down below in the comments section. But yes, like we led the episode with, you can follow us on Instagram at the Purple Rain Podcast. You can follow me on Twitter or Instagram. I just told you guys how many tweets I put out during the games, and I'm always tweeting about the Ravens. Follow me on Twitter at Sutton Def, on Instagram at Sutton Def as well. And then this guy over here, you can follow him on Twitter at SimplyAS10, and then on Instagram at SimplyAS10.prod. And then, of course, like we led the episode with, Manscaped is our sponsor. You can go on manscaped.com, stack your cart to the ceiling. Christmas time is right around the corner, so get your favorite loved one something from Manscaped and use our code, because guess what? You're going to save yourself some money, and that's 20% off plus the free international shipping if you use our code PRP. Okay, yeah, and with that being said, love all you guys. Keep your heads up. There's only one loss. I know we're at 3 losses right now, but I do still have faith in this team. I think that the defense can turn it around. It's going to take some adjustments, and we'll see how long it takes for the Ravens to make those adjustments. And we'll see what EDC does to kind of bolster this roster in places where it needs bolstering. But keep your heads up, stay positive. And, that's actually Alex's part. I'll let him go ahead and take that away.
I didn't know about he had 11 picks, but yeah. Black Daniels, look who's in the chat. Thank you for coming through. Better late than never. He says we will have 14 draft picks, 13 of them will never see the field. Thank you for coming through. We appreciate you, Black Daniels. But thank you everybody who came through, stuck here with us. Just listen to us rant and yap. We really appreciate it. We're all Ravens fans. Just want to see us lift that Lombardi at the end of the season. Whether we agree, we can agree to disagree, and that's fine. That's healthy. But thank you all for coming through this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast. As always,
Yes.
stay positive, test negative.
Yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call guys. When episode 274 of the Purple Rain Podcast, we're going to catch you.